PlayStation and PS2 games. Seems to be all I review anymore. I swear I'll get to play other consoles soon, but not this time. No, this time we get to talk about Medal of Honor for the PlayStation. One of the first-person shooters I ever played, and man, this was a good one. Medal of Honor was one of the best console first-person shooter games on the market at the time, and with good reason. You play as the fictional but legendary Jimmy Patterson on his absolute warpath of Europe during World War II. Most war games take the severity of war into hand and really make the player understand the situation, and this is no exception. Each mission features World War II footage and a little bit of a history lesson that has to deal with the mission at hand. So let's start with the gameplay here, and compared to other shooters, it's average or slightly above average. I played this on the original PlayStation controller with no analog sticks, so it's surprising to me that using a PS2 controller with the analog sticks actually worked and made the movement a little bit better. But I do say a little bit because it's still a little stiff and a little bit cumbersome. It feels like a PC game using controller controls. You can't really turn and move forward at the same time. You gotta take turns doing each. The aiming is a little stiff too. You need to bring up the crosshairs to aim, and you can't move while aiming, but these controls don't need to be Call of Duty super fast action type controls, you know? It works for the amount of enemies that you face. My favorite missions are the ones where you go stealthy and go undercover, which happens a lot more than you'd expect. You're given fake papers to fool the Germans, which they actually give you papers as a weapon. Yeah, it's kind of funny to be switching between your weapons, then you just flash some documentation at someone. Some of the Germans are a little bit too smart though. When you show them the papers, they kind of just look at you and then they start shooting and sounding the alarms. After each mission, you're given a nickname depending on where you shot your enemies the most, and I just think it's funny and something entertaining to look at afterwards, you know? Just something extra that they threw in there. One thing about the single player I don't feel works well are the objectives in the missions. I feel like mission objectives should be organic, like I shouldn't have to go out of my way for me to find them. But in this game in particular, I find myself having to backtrack and find something that I walked past before. I get it, it's my fault for not doing it right the first time, but I did 3 missions in a row where I got to the end, but I couldn't complete it. At what point is it my fault for missing it, or is it just poor level design, you know? It's not even like the levels are complex and open, they're fairly linear and very narrow, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself, but I feel like an idiot each time I miss something. I guess I'm just not observant or something. I miss stuff inside air ducts or in tiny little crevices. Also, the enemies kind of drop shot you. Yeah, they go prone and they roll around and they're surprisingly hard to shoot. It's kind of annoying. What exacerbates this issue is that the draw distance and the distance at which you shoot enemies are not the same. There's times where enemies will appear, but they're still very much in the shadows of the draw distance, and I can't shoot them, but they still have the ability to shoot me. How does that work, huh? There are even enemies that when they die, their fingers are still pulling the trigger and can hit you with bullets after you shot them already, which I suppose is something that can happen in real life, but I don't know how accurate or frequent that actually is. Another minor issue is that wooden boxes explode for some reason when they're shot at. Why? Why do they explode? Furthermore, when a grenade touches them, I mean touches the boxes, they explode. I distinctly remember recording footage for this review, getting to the end of a level, no checkpoints or save points, and I throw a grenade and I hit some boxes and it explodes everything in the room, kills me, I had to start the level all over again. That just can't happen. That should be illegal. Although I do find it incredibly fluid, the animation when you die, that's a little surprising for me, but having no checkpoints or save points in the same level, it's a bit harsh. So I still think it's a good game, not without its flaws, but it's a game I can kind of sit back and chill playing. I'm not really being rushed, I don't have to sit up or focus or anything, I can just play. And not to throw grenades into wooden boxes, because that's a sin. Unfortunately, this game lands on the worst side of the PlayStation games, but just barely. It's decent, but there's too many minor things that bother me, and there's a ton of other decent first-person shooter games you can play, so it's not really a hard decision here. And to think Medal of Honor was one of my favorite series growing up. Guess things change, you know? Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Look out for the next review soon. See you then.